is still burning tonight. In Washington state, more acres burned in just one day than firefighters usually see all year. This is absolutely not normal. Huge areas in the western part of the country are engulfed in flames, and plumes of smoke have floated as far east as Alabama.
There is a psychological and physical toll to living with these fires. This is just a very difficult and traumatic event that we're all dealing with that's only getting worse.
Over 100 degrees in Los Angeles. Phoenix, Arizona had the hottest summer that it's ever had in recorded history. Like, we know that this is the future we're looking into. And you make a good point, which is that being on the West Coast in some ways means you're on the edge of the climate disruption in a way that might really make a difference if more of the media were located on the edge of said climate disruption.
No area has a monopoly on the climate disaster right now. You're going to feel it regardless. Yeah, it's going to be worse. But there is this feeling when you are here, there's something about the ways that, that the sky is blotted out, that there is this ash, that it's something that it doesn't just hit, it doesn't just approach and then go away, leaving disaster. It is a rolling disaster that sits there and it hovers, and it sort of, it's like an Instagram filter for your life that is apocalyptic. And it really drives home this, this anxiety that what we've done to our planet may be irreversible. And I think that if more people experience that particular climate disaster, then yes, I think maybe we would be talking about it a little bit differently.
There's this amazing sort of quote from a woman in Oakland, a mother. She says, "We're in a pandemic and a heat wave, and we don't have air conditioning. We can't open the window. We're trapped. We're hot, and no one can come over to play." I mean, everything that happens now is stacked atop the pandemic, and it makes coping with things all that much harder.
There is a way in which I don't think our minds are actually able to sort of, like you said, stack these crises and deal with them and sort them out and figure them out. And I think that, I think one thing that is just not talked about enough, climate is not talked about enough, frankly, but the psychological trauma, I keep sort of like harping on this, but
fire weather throughout the entire day, the overnight hours, and a look at the smoke forecast shows that is pretty variable out there. The heaviest concentration, of course, up to the north, the Kincaid Fire, Geyserville, Healdsburg, even out towards Bodega Bay, as those northeasterly winds sweep the smoke. We wish, right? We had the fog off the coast. And you can see as we get the winds, we get the high fire danger. So this all links up with the gustiest winds, the highest threat in the upper elevations of the North Bay and throughout the Diablo Range. And yes, like you said, some of this brush is not burned in over 20 years. And so with the winds accelerating and moving over the ground so quickly, it is really not taking much to get those spot fires. And anything I can provide, unfortunately, is bad news in terms of the weather, because it just is still, you saw the trees out there, you saw, the winds just continue to blow, and then there's tree branches down, there's debris in the road, so there is all of that just here where people live, so it is just a mess out there, and it continues to gust really high throughout probably 40 to 60 miles in the upper
and then we
elevations.
just get a little bit of a break on Monday, and then we're kind of right back in, and not to this degree, but after what we've already gone through, enough to cause further damage and bring down already weakened trees.
Exactly, and keep the power out probably for several more days.
And when can we expect some relief from the wind, from potential PSPS outages?
Maybe after this Wednesday event, but there's no rain in the next 16 days. And, this was the event we were focusing on last week, and we're focusing on this, but then there's yet another one Tuesday, Wednesday. So It is the season, but we're looking maybe after Wednesday that we get a real break.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. Gusts over 100 miles per hour.
Sustained at 78 miles an hour. No, this is California. We don't do this in California.
So you've, in all of your weather forecasting years, never forecasted more than
And when you talked about the erratic winds, that's like a tornado, where one house is unscathed and the next is demolished. So this fire, same thing with the erratic winds, and then you throw the gusts on top of it, and how dry it is out there. I mean, these are levels that we don't get much drier than this in October.
Ingredients adding together to make for the...
Yes. The flames, I'd say, literally were about 30 feet. Well, not like, from maybe like half court to a basketball, about 30 feet to the house. But and the winds were the field was engulfed in flames, and the wind was just blowing smoke right at us. So we were literally fighting this fire blind. I mean, it was just smoke, and our eyes are burning, and it's like the flames are on our street. And then literally, like, the wind, like, changed within 20 minutes, and it started blowing west. And then that's when it went down the hill, down by the Carquinez Bridge and down by the Navy Academy.
Well, and we had our helicopter, Jonathan, overhead when this fire was breaking out, and it seemed to happen so fast. Is that what you experienced? Were you inside, and all of a sudden there was a fire in your backyard, basically?
Yeah, so literally, like, at about 9:48 in the morning, I smelled smoke. I woke up, and I said, me and my brother, we ran to my master bedroom, looked out the window, and the whole field across the street was on fire. And I'm like, oh, no, here it is, because this happened, like, a year ago when a car had caught on fire. So we literally just started putting on poles and masks, and we ran out, and then the fire jumped the fence, and it was literally on our street. And the wind was literally blowing towards us. So I'm like, oh, no, like, this thing jumps the street. This houses on our block. There's maybe about 15 houses on our block, so it was just bad. So my brother Tobias Ramsey starts getting the hose, he got it connected, we start spraying like crazy, anything we could get to get the fire out. And then literally like 20 minutes later, the fire trucks come gushing, they're plugging this big hose up, and they're taking care of the field. And so, we stayed out of their way, let them do the big fire, but while the big fire was going on, there's small fires jumping onto, across the street from our property. My neighbor to the left of me, her front yard literally got on fire, her pots and flowers.
Wow. So all these little spot fires were starting. What did your neighbor do? And did you do anything to help her?
Well, when they were inside, I think everyone was so afraid and was so ready to evacuate because literally, like, the whole block to my right, people were getting in their vans and they were just driving off.
Me, Victor, Maria, and Luis, you guys were up there when this fire happened. Maria, tell me what you saw with the flash.
I was driving with my friends, and we were just driving, and there was this red flash, and we braked, and we all kind of looked at each other, we're like, what is that? And then, living in Sonoma County, the first thing we think it really is the fires. And basically, we just drove towards where we thought the fires were coming from, and after driving, we realized that it was in the geyser area. We followed the road up to the geyser area, and as we were driving up there, you could see the ash covering your car. And
It's okay.
no, and then it's okay. What's it called?
It's really hard to see now, Victor.
Okay.
Victor, when I was talking to you earlier, we kind of talk about this fire in Sonoma County and how it just seems to happen every year now. Just your thoughts on this thing.
It's hard to have a actual process thought on this whole thing because
fire is raging tonight to a mobile home park in Talamesa. That's about 3 hours east of Los Angeles. Extreme winds and hot, dry weather are fueling these flames and several other blazes across the state.
This morning we watched the embers, they would fly, and so there would be a house, a mile away, all on fire all by itself. And of course, there's nothing firefighters can do. There's too much.
The wind is so powerful up here, it is just generating this massive firestorm. Take a look at the inferno down there, generating this massive firestorm. Take a look at the inferno down there.
I believe I'm 1 street north of all of you, and there's embers starting to fly. You can see this is right below my feet. There's a guy out here just a little while ago trying to put these wood chips, but they're flaring up again. Check out this window. It's all over the place. It's pouring all over the place. What's weird, Jason, behind me, I can see some blue sky right up there, but it's quickly being covered by all this black smoke. There are fire units up there. I know they're doing the best they can for structure protection, but this is a tough one, Jason. The wind is carrying this. I hear somebody yelling over there. I can't tell what he's saying.
Yeah, you mentioned structure protection. That is taking a backseat to lives and saving them right now. At that point, you see those little embers, those little pieces of mulch on fire, and that's how a home will catch fire. It gets right into the attic, and suddenly a home is up in flames just like that. So keep an eye out for that. Watch out for yourself. The yelling, I would imagine, has to be neighbors looking out for neighbors, perhaps firefighters trying to get people out, because saving lives is the #1 priority at this point.
Yeah, Ginny, please, you need to be careful. As you know, those embers, it doesn't take much for those to catch fire with some of the dry brush. We need to make sure that you are safe and that you have a quick escape route if the fire starts to build in that immediate area.
Yeah, this is once again just south of the 8 on just off South Grade Road, off the 8 south of it. And so you can see here, we've been telling you that areas by the Albertsons, which is at 2955 Alpine Boulevard, need to evacuate, mandatory, and people can go to Viejas Casino right now.
Oh dear,
we have a house up.
and take a look. You can see this is how dangerous this is. When the winds pick up and the embers start to fly, they catch anywhere where there's something dry enough to burn, and you can see flames already erupting on the house there, that the street where Ginny is. This is just by Olive View, south of the 8. This is not the kind of thing that you want to see. Hopefully the people who live there are out.
Yeah.
When he rushed out of the neighborhood, he told Carrie that all of these homes would likely be gone. But when they returned, they found that the fire was selective. His neighbors' homes were destroyed, but his home survived.
All my papers, all our important documents, birth certificates, all that kind of stuff.
So they lost the important physical things because they were all packed in the truck. But they still have each other.
I'm still here. Yeah. Still moving forward. We'll pick up the pieces and keep moving forward. That's what we do.
Julia Avery.
That's tires.
KRCR News Channel 7.
We'll pick up the pieces and keep moving forward. That's what we do.
Julia Avery.
That's tires.
KRCR News Channel 7.
All my papers, all our important documents, birth certificates, all that kind of stuff.
So they lost the important physical things because they were all packed in the truck.
It had just started to catch fire. The fire department actually came out, already put it out, but then it caught fire again on its own, and everything else around here is a complete loss. And you can see, oh my god, goodness, wow, I'm not sure what that was. That might have been the gas tank. But again, guys, looking at live video right
are what people are calling a weather phenomenon or an anomaly, where an actual possible vortex came through here, and that's literally fire behavior that we have not experienced or seen or witnessed in a generation here in Northern California. And unfortunately, it tears at firefighters' hearts to obviously have any loss of life or injuries. I've heard stories of firefighters bringing family members out and having the windows of their car explode from the conditions that were out there. So I've heard stories of firefighters bringing family members out and having the windows of their car explode from the conditions that were out there.
tweeted.
And Tom, it's important to note that firefighters have been stretched so thin over the past couple of years that more firefighters have died from suicide than from fighting fires.